Reggie here, your friendly neighborhood bodybuilder and comic book collector, and I want to welcome you to another episode of The Random Run. If you've never seen The Random Run before, I want to give you a little bit of background and also explain how this is going to be a little bit different. Historically, the Random Run series is one in which I showcase books from my collection that are off the beaten path. They're not exactly the types of books that people create videos about. They're not the ones that people put up on walls. They're oftentimes not the ones that just get highlighted by the comic book community. They are awesome books, but they don't necessarily get the notoriety that they deserve. And what I typically do in one of these episodes is I basically run through all of the books that I have in some run of comics in my collection, and they're typically the exact same title. So recently I did one on the entire Web of Spider-Man title, in which I showed you the keys and some of my favorites from that title. I've done them on Warlock, where I basically show you all of the books that were part of the Power of Warlock title. And a subscriber recently gave me the idea of moving away from that concept of showing you books just from a single title versus a random run or a random assortment of comics from multiple titles. And so it's the same concept, just with a twist. And I'm a little upset at myself, to be honest with you, because I should have come up with this myself. But it is a good idea. And so we are basically going to do that today. I am going to show you some books randomly pulled from my collection. The only thing that is going to be consistent about them is that they are all about one of my favorite characters, that being Wolverine. So without any further ado, I'm going to jump into the stack of books that is sitting off to the side here, and they are in no particular order. I actually purposefully did not put them in a particular order so as to keep them random. I hope that you enjoyed this episode of Random Run, and if you do, I definitely want to encourage you to hit the subscribe button, hit the thumbs up, and leave a comment behind. The very first book that I want to show you is one that I absolutely love. This cover just speaks to me, and it is Wolverine Number 8. Just a gorgeous blue cover on this comic. This thing, Joe Fixit and Patch, is just incredible. This one, and I think it's the contrast of the blue background with the white, and then they're basically black pants that have a blue tint to them. It's a cover that just speaks to me. And I actually have two copies of this. This is probably the highest grade, even though it has like two minor defects in it. These are, in my opinion, pretty hard to come by in raw format and really high grade, but definitely pleased to have this one in the collection. The next book, as I'm looking at it now, is another from the Wolverine series. It is actually Wolverine Number 1. This is his first ongoing solo series, and this one is okay. It's not as good as the limited series, but it's still a good title. It's a really cool cover here. I can't remember who did this cover, but I absolutely dig this one, where he is basically standing on a pile of bodies. Can't go wrong with that, and it says a whole lot about Wolverine. Set that one back there. This next one is actually one of my favorite story arcs of all time, and it's a story arc that I originally read when I was a kid, and it stayed with me. And so I went and reread it a couple of years ago, and it was still as good as the first time. And I realized upon the second reading that I did not actually have all the books in this story arc. And so I went back and I actually found each and every one of those books so that I could have the complete run of Marvel Comics Presents Weapon X. And we now know that this is actually not Weapon X. It is actually Weapon 10. And you may, by this time, have seen a video in which I talk more about that in detail. But this is Marvel Comics Presents Weapon X number 72. And I think this is a Barry Windsor Smith cover. absolutely love this dude's artwork. It's not typical artwork for me, but for whatever reason, his artwork on this particular series worked really well for me. Very cool book. This next one is, it's a cool book primarily because it's a homage to a Nick Fury book. And I think it was Nick Fury number 4. A subscriber actually sent that book to me, but this is kind of sort of where it all started for me. This is Marvel Knights number 27, and this black and white background back there is a direct lift, if you will, from the Nick Fury cover, Nick Fury number 4 back in the day. I think it was 4. I should probably look that up. Yeah, but homage cover. Love this cover because of that fact. This next book, actually the next 2, are really cool. This is actually one of my favorite series from the Ultimate Universe. And this battle between these 2 characters is just a classic battle that we have seen play out time and time again. And just the banter between the 2 is fantastic. This is Ultimate Wolverine versus the Hulk number 1. And so I have multiple copies of this one, and the same for the variant limited edition black and white. I love these covers and I love this story arc because it's hilarious and also gorgeous. So I might as well show you at this moment this book right here. It's a slab. It's a cool slab. I have 2 copies of it. One is an 8.5 and one is a 5.0 signed by Stan Lee. This is Incredible Hulk number 181. Definitely a cool book to own. This book is like all the rage and has been for quite some time. Well, I should probably say over the last maybe 2 years or so, 2.5 years, this book has been extremely hot, and I'm very pleased to own 2 of these. Again, an 8.5 and a 5.0 in the collection. This next book is actually probably one of my favorite story arcs to read featuring this particular character. This is Wolverine Limited Series number 1. This is a 9.8. Definitely enjoy this comic right here. I actually like this one more so than the original Wolverine. The full series, the black cover that I showed you a moment ago, I actually enjoyed this one so much more than the ongoing series. And I'm not even sure who, well, probably because it was Chris Claremont. I'm not sure if he wrote the ongoing, but he definitely wrote this one and thoroughly enjoyed this one. This next book is, as I switch back to a couple of Raw books here, this is Uncanny X-Men number 211. It's a really cool cover here. This is the 25th anniversary of Marvel, and it's also, this is the first Marauders. And the Marauders are back now in a completely different form than they were here. It's actually an X-Men title now that I am thoroughly enjoying. This next book is actually a cameo appearance of Mr. Sinister. It is Uncanny X-Men number 213, a classic battle between Wolverine and Sabretooth. So he's had a couple of classic battles, right? And one of the people he squares off against time and time again is this guy right here. Next up, this is actually a book that has been in my collection for a while, literally since I was a kid. And I honestly don't even know who it is that signed this book. I want to say it's Mike Mignola. And what's interesting is that this book, I've read it. Haven't read it since I was a kid. But what's interesting is that I read this book and never actually folded the cover back because it still looks in perfect shape. But this is Wolverine, the Jungle Adventure. This is probably the first graphic novel that I ever purchased. Right there, and he's facing off against Apocalypse, and you can see the signature hopefully right there. I honestly don't know who that signature is. I don't remember meeting this person, but I know that I had the book signed. I do know that much. I was a more reserved kid, so that's part of the reason why I don't remember. Next book, one that I enjoy. It's a Greg Land cover, and I love it because, like the Marvel Knights book that I showed you a few seconds ago, it is a homage to an older pre-code horror book, and it's just a really, really cool cover, again featuring a classic Wolverine battle, this time again with Sabretooth. Definitely a cool book right here, and this is Wolverine number 55. From 55. I actually picked this one up off the shelf back in the day. The next book is just a really cool cover. Is this a Greg Land? Yeah, this is a Greg Land as well. I have not read this story, but I picked this book up when I bought a collection, but I still haven't read it. This is The Hunt for Wolverine number 2. And again, a Greg Land book right there. Definitely love this cover. The next one is an Uncanny X-Men number 212. This is the first battle between Sabretooth and Wolverine. It's also a newsstand. Cool book right there. And then the very last book that I'm actually going to show you in this edition of the Random Run is this awesome bloody cover from X-Force. This is X-Force number 1. I have the regular cover and also the bloody cover. This thing is just incredible. I was a huge fan of X-Force back in the day when this thing originally debuted, and I remain so to this day because the new version of X-Force I am thoroughly enjoying. So there you have it. That is essentially a maybe new and improved, a slightly twist on the Random Run series. I hope that you enjoyed this video, and if you did, I definitely want to encourage you to hit the thumbs up, leave a comment behind so we can mix it up in the comment section. If you need to reach me, feel free to do so at RegieCollects on Instagram and RegieCollects@gmail.com. Take care.